This video gives you an overview of the classroom management course and how all the pieces fit together. There are several components in the course, and I want to quickly go over those components using the course Prezi. And this video will be in Edmodo, so you can go back to it if you're ever confused on exactly what's going on in the course. So, several different components, and I've organized those by 6 focus questions. And all of the focus questions support this essential question. And think about that question for a second. You're trying to create an effective learning environment. One clarification, this course isn't about classroom management as most people think of it, because they typically think of classroom discipline and maintaining student behavior and what to do when somebody misbehaves. This course is about a lot more than that. It's about creating an effective learning environment where misbehavior is an important part, but not the only part. The setting you choose to teach in is key. Are you targeting your system for a rural school or an urban school, suburban? Are you targeting middle school or high school? What is the setting that you choose? What's your style? You may not know your style now, but as the course unfolds, you'll get to know your style, especially as you talk with other students in the class. And your style will continue to emerge in your first years of teaching. But what's your style? And then, what's your subject? Subject is a component in your learning environment, just like a cog in the wheel here in the image. If you're a science teacher or a math teacher or an ESL teacher or any other subject, the dictates of your subject influence the kind of learning environment you create. So those 3 elements, style, subject, and setting, will always be in the background, even though you won't have any specific training in the course on each of the 3. So now we get into the 6 focus questions. This part of the course image represents focus question 1, which is the work you'll do in Dr. Sprick's book. We'll come back to that one in a little bit and go into it more depth. Focus question 2 is about managing small groups. I don't expect that all of you become committed to teaching with small groups, but I want you to know how, especially if you get hired in a setting that requires you to teach with small groups. Small groups are 10% of your grade in the course. Focus question 3 focuses on differentiation, and differentiation will be led by the graduate students as they read Ruby Payne. There are no course points attached to this, but differentiation will be an element that you'll want to show in your final system about how you accommodate your system for different kinds of learners. Focus question 4 is technologies. It is 10% of your grade, and in this section of the course, my plan is for you to team up with other students from your same subject area to find out about technologies that enhance student learning and increase student motivation. Focus question 5 will be a brief section of the course, worth only 5% of your grade, where we look at certain requirements that the State Department requires that this course meet. This will be inquiry-based, and it'll be a fairly quick thing that we'll do toward the end of the whole course. Focus question 6 is on managing misbehavior. It is 15% of your grade, and it is part of your high-stakes artifact. This one's a little bit different because it is problem-based, and we'll start focus question 6 at the very beginning of the course so you can find out if you actually need to find a place to do observations. Many of you will also find out that you'll be able to use prior experiences to show that you have begun to get your basic skills in managing misbehavior. So there's the big picture of the course and the 6 elements. Now let's go back to Dr. Sprick's portion, the portion out of the course textbook on discipline in secondary classrooms. You'll have lots of daily grades associated with reading this book, but there's no course grade attached to this. The course grade is in your system itself, which is 35% of your grade, and your system will probably reflect mostly your training from Dr. Sprick's course. So if you looked at the chapters of the book, you would see grading as one of the chapters. Grading has a strong impact. How you grade has a strong impact on the learning environment. And we'll go through that. Organization. Well, here's another thing that differentiates learning environment from classroom discipline. You got to have your classroom organized, and probably that makes sense to you now that you've got to think about organization as part of your classroom system. Expectations. One of the chapters in Dr. Sprick's book is on expectations. What expectations do you have for your students? A lot of times teachers have expectations, but they don't communicate them clearly. And this chapter in the book will help you to decide what your expectations are, how to communicate them, and how to train your students. Rules and consequences. Now we finally, in this chapter, gotten to the portion that most people think of when they think of classroom management. But notice how deeply it's embedded in the training. You don't do this first. And then the last chapter is about motivation. Motivation is key to creating an effective learning environment, and good motivation actually prevents misbehavior. So, now stepping back, there's the big picture of the course. We'll spend most of our time for the first month or 6 weeks in Dr. Sprick's book, and then we'll work through the other 5 focus questions. And through it all, you're going to be thinking and thinking and thinking and designing and designing and designing so that you eventually come up with your own system. So stepping back, begin thinking. Begin thinking about that system and how it all fits together, how you can design a system where all the gears and all the wheels and everything come together well into a system that effectively creates a learning environment for teaching in your style, your subject, and the setting that you're targeting. Hope this overview helps.